The Fellowship of the Ring by JRR Tolkien. The story of Frodo, a hobbit plucked out of obscurity and chosen to be the one to take the one ring of power to Mordor to destroy it. Classic tale. I decided to go with the classic fantasy novel for this week. It's been a while since I read the book, and when I read it this time, I was struck by the differences between the book and the movie. The movie is very well done. It is amazing at capturing the visuals of this world that just exists as a collection of words. I'm much more impressed with the movie now, having just read the book. I think it does a very good job of capturing the spirit of the book. That being said, the medium is so different. Because it's a movie, it has to tighten the timeline of everything that's happening. Like in the book, Bilbo leaves the ring to Frodo, and then 17 years pass before he has to leave the Shire. The pacing is just, it's so much slower as he's going along with Merry and Pip and Sam through the woods. They're singing songs, they're talking to Tom Bombadil. There's a lot of focus on what the scenery is like, what the landscape is like. Whereas in the movie, they're zoomed in on characters' emotions. In particular, I'm thinking of the scene with the prancing pony where the ring gets on Frodo's finger. In the movie, it's this dramatic, slow motion. You really feel the emotion, like what's going to happen next. In the book, you're not as scared for Frodo. It just sort of happens and then the story moves on. Also, when Gandalf falls, when he's fighting the Balrog in the mines of Moria. In the movie, I remember it just really hitting me, like how awful it was that Gandalf fell, and they have the emotional reaction of Frodo and all the other hobbits and everyone, and it really hits you. In the book, they move pretty quickly on to the next part. It's like, Gandalf just fell to his death. Oh, there's the Forest of Lothlorien, we're going there. It feels strange in the book how quickly they pass over emotions. And I think that's another thing that stood out to me in the book. We're used to, in modern novels, it being told from one character's perspective, very focused on what they're thinking, what they're feeling, whereas this was written back in a different time where the omniscient narrator was much more common. So you don't get the zoomed in emotions. You get little lines that hint at how people are feeling or what they're thinking about, but it is very surface level. It's actually funny to me to think if Lord of the Rings hadn't been written and someone had written Lord of the Rings today and it was brought before writing books, there would be a lot of criticisms against it for doing all the things wrong. In writing novels, you're supposed to show, not tell. You're supposed to put the reader in the mind of one of the characters, and you're certainly not supposed to have lengthy songs and other things that detract away from the main action of the story. It just goes to show that writing opinions change over time. So why is this book so captivating? I think it comes to how Tolkien tells the story. He does it in such a way that he has this world where he's created such a history, and in the surface level of Fellowship of the Rings, you get little hints at the story that make you really curious about what happened. He hints at the Battle of the Five Armies, he hints at the past relationships between dwarves and elves, and you see some of it played out on the surface level, but you can feel the deep history behind it, and it makes everything more intriguing. Also, I think Tolkien has drawn up a very interesting landscape in the map of Middle-earth. I personally love looking at all fantasy maps. Just like every little lake and river and mountain. I love looking all over it and thinking like what interesting stories happen in every part of it. I feel like Tolkien was the one who really started that with Middle-earth. It's actually funny to me to think of what the fantasy genre would have evolved to if Tolkien hadn't written The Hobbit and the Lord of the Rings trilogy. I can only imagine, because it was extremely influential. Everyone wants to go back to Middle-earth and reimagine what things could have looked like and do their own version of orcs or elves or dwarves. It's an endless supply of interesting story. It really is quite a magic trick that Tolkien pulled off. So for Fellowship of the Ring, I say 4.5 stars. If you have any recommendations, including the 2 following books, not to worry, they're on my list. And so we'll be doing a review of those some point in the future.